Hello, Gold Rush Bay fans. This is Christian Milan again. I wanted to introduce you to the next stage in the evolution of our Gold Rush Bay miniatures, and that is creating miniatures that are already in color. Now, previously, if you follow me, I originally started with creating realistic structures in white. The reason for this is I wanted to get as much detail as possible in an assembled structure, not in kits that are already pre-made that you can paint yourself. So all you have to do is buy my assembled products and you can paint it yourself. Well, I realized that, trying to make it people paint really, really fine details, such as these finials and the balustrades here with a really tiny paintbrush, is really difficult. So trying to get them in color is something that I've always wanted to do. Now, this is the first item I made. Now, as you know, I make train interiors for train modelers, and I wanted to experiment with just a dual tone, simple item like this. I created the base plate and put the seats on, but what color really does is it really brings out the handrails and the seat cushions and the back cushions, making them very apparent and as distinct from the base plate itself, and that turned out really well. So the next thing I wanted to experiment was something that's really hard to paint, which is the RPO car, rail post office. And this is like those delivery post offices that are on the train in the 1800s in the Old West. And trying to paint these individual bins, just the paper in the shelves, that's a really difficult task. And making them shells themselves brown, only the really finest painters can paint that. And for my production techniques, I'm able to pre-make them in color. Now, you can still paint it and give it your own highlights yourself. For example, some people love the golden base because it reflects the light in the interior of the train cars, but some people don't. So you could still paint it and go over it yourself. But what I like about this, it gives it a basic a tone, so you could kind of go from there and you don't have to spend time really digging into those shells. So the next step would be from train interiors to actual structures. Now, this is one of my first gazebos, and here now you could see, you could compare it to the original white gazebo. And you could see here the white gazebo is very hard to distinguish the finials and the balustrades, but I really intentionally made that yellow to really bring out every single detail as distinct from the other sections. This fish scale tile roof, also you can see here in color, in this blue color, this teal, you could now see how it's separate from those grates and the benches as well, and the balls there on the handrails. So after the gazebo, the next step would be to do a house. And these very geometric, very, either square, triangular houses is another indication of how the color brings out detail that you wouldn't really find on a white model. Now, I cannot imagine painting these wooden planks individually and having them stand out from the drywall or the stucco and to give them that planked appearance, or let alone these bricks or this roof. But here you can see the gold. I made the background gold and the foreground plank blue. Now, having your paintbrush and also this roof here, if you were to go into each of these little squares and try to paint them yourself, that would be nearly impossible. Now, people who are skilled know how to do a base coat and then also to go over in highlights, and that's great. But how would you put your paintbrush in between this window hood and this chimney unless it's pre-colored already? And so that's what I wanted to do here and experiment with, and I think that really helps you, the painter of these models, to have a base to go off of when you start painting your model, or just leave it as is. And a lot of people do that. This Sunburst here, again, colored, different rays as the background, it kind of brings it out, whereas in white you wouldn't see that level of detail. Also, the dormers here separate from the wood using a dual tone of brown and gold. Now, after you go geometric and houses and whatnot, the next step is to go with whether you could do curves. Now, for people that actually make products, doing molds of balloons is especially hard because if you do a mold and make a production balloon, it's really hard to contend with these curves, making it one piece and still making it hollow inside. So a lot of people resort to make it a solid piece. So my balloons are hollow inside so you can put a light inside. But now I wanted to make this curvilinear structure in color as well. And this is the final iteration of color. Once I do this, then I can start to go from N scale to HO scale. And it looks like this is successful so far. I made the balloon 3 colors only, purple, blue, and gold, and the basket brown. So to give it that distinct detail colors. And what I'm finding is that with my 3D structures, it lends itself really easily to color because each of these striations here can be a different color. And that's great. I can experiment with as many colors as I want to. I can blow this up and make it bigger if I want to, all the while maintaining the integrity because it has those distinct details. I'm really happy with color so far. I think this is a great step in making the objects as lifelike as possible, but I'm more interested in what you think. I like these colors, but I'm wondering if you would paint these different colors, what kind of colors you would experiment with. I tend to go toward the golds, obviously, golds and the kind of the lighter shades. But tell me what you think. What would you color, for example, this gazebo or this house? Are there details that I'm missing that I can highlight? But most of all, what other structures would you like to see me make at Gold Rush Bay? Thanks so much for watching and happy modeling.